Just one roster move this morning. We signed running back Jaquez Rogers and we waived running back Rob Kelly. So we're still at 90. Any questions?
Favorite snowball flavor?
Mine?
Yeah.
Cherry lime.
Off to a good start, huh?
Coach, obviously getting Marcus Williams and Latavius Murray back out there, how encouraged were you what you saw after they missed a few days of practice?
Well, we'll look at the tape. You know, obviously it's good to have guys like that, get back out after their rehab. Both of them should be pretty healthy. I'm sure there's a lot of soreness right now with a number of players, but I thought, again, today's practice was more of a red zone emphasis. We'll go in and watch the tape and then make corrections for this afternoon's walkthrough.
Rookie Eric McCoy is going into tomorrow's scrimmage. Has he done enough for you to comment on how he's coming along?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of good things. I like how he's picked things up. I think he's strong inside, and I think each day you see progress. So I think discussing the personnel the other day in the meeting, we felt like, especially since the pads have come on, we've been able to see some things that are encouraging, and yet there's still a number of things, third down, 2 minute, some of the protections that he's working through, but I've been real encouraged.
How does the kind of relationship building on that line work when you got a rookie at center? Do the guys kind of have to?
Well, look, there's veterans, both to the right and left, guys that have played a lot, Larry and Andrus, obviously Teron and Ryan. I think that's what happens. You come in and look, the center is an important position. Max was a real good leader, a good communicator, and I think Eric can be the same. I think as he's getting more and more familiar with what we're doing, you saw a consistent player at the college level, at a real good college level, and so it's just each day working on getting better, working on the things that maybe are new or a little different.
Coach, how is that? Coach, you feel that Cameron Tom kind of progressed from his rookie year?
Well, he's stronger right now. I think he's carrying his weight better. He's in the mix inside. He's someone that obviously is playing at guard, but he's someone that's taking center snaps. So he's competing. I've been encouraged. He's smart.
Coach, do you feel that the addition of the 90 player roster last year helps some of the undrafted free agent rookies coming out and making the team?
I think we've been at 90 for a while. I mean, in other words, I don't know that last year was the first time we were at 90, but what happened last year was they pushed the cut date back. Instead of having a 75 cut and then a 53 cut, you just went all the way throughout camp. So I do think that obviously it gives you a little bit more exposure to players 75 to 90. Exposure, another preseason game, it gives you more reps, and I think it does help that group of players.
But you feel like you need all 4 preseason games to evaluate?
Do I feel that way? Yes. Just because of how much we've restricted in the spring, and quite honestly, what we've restricted in training camp. So I know the challenge oftentimes is that 4th preseason game, but I can't think of a season here where that 4th preseason game didn't mean something to a handful of players that were in it, and it meant something to us in the evaluation. So because the current spring format, obviously we're not in pads at all, and so I think it's important.
Is that something you see could potentially be on the table with the CBA?
No, yeah, I'm on the competition committee, and so that's a whole different department.
Saquon Hampton has made a few plays out there. Saquon Hampton, the rookie safety.
Yeah, listen, he's smart. He's had a good camp. Quietly, he's someone that I think is going to be able to help us in the kicking game. I like his stature, and he's got good ball skills.
So what type of practice tomorrow night at Tulane for the fans? Be very similar to what we've been.
Yeah, we'll get a number of team reps. We'll get a number of 7-on-7 reps. We'll have special teams kind of mixed throughout. Very similar to what we've done in years prior.
Coach, what do you guys on defense look at? Points allowed, not yards, obviously allowed. In this red zone drill on defense, what do you want to see from the defense specifically?
Well,
with
look,
giving up
I think if you're gonna be pretty good defensively, and if you're gonna be pretty good as a team, your red zone defense is important. And so you're looking to force field goals and not touchdowns. And in other words, you can give up some yards and then get to that area of the field and play effectively. You know, there's some things to your advantage because the field's reduced. So if you play good red zone defense and you're forcing opponents to kick field goals, you're going to be in a lot of games.
You kind of reset the defense in that aspect, like you were saying?
Well, every play that takes place in a game, you reset. You know, first and 10 goes to second and 5. First and 10 goes to another first and 10. But when you get to that area of the field, there's certain elements of what you're doing defensively that maybe you might not call in the field because the area you're defending is smaller. And so, yeah, it is a category in which we've got to be effective at, and in the same way on offense. So as you get closer to the goal line, what you're going to be calling on both sides of the ball can be a little different.
So
and there's some carryover, you know, what you're doing.
So when you say today's practice, before you look at the film, was maybe the most productive offensively, did you feel good about? It seems like we made more plays for this practice.
Yeah, I don't know if one thing stood out. I thought it's always easier to begin to watch the tape and then kind of look at it closely. I thought we had a good run drill. You know, we had a couple different red zone periods, red zone 7-on-7. So, you know, we started one period off with a few mental errors on both sides of the ball. We started it again. So, you know, it's just working through this right at this point, you know, where you got to train not only yourself physically, but train your mind to be at its best, even when you're tired. And I think that's something that I don't know that you ever get comfortable with it, but you got to get used to it.
What stood out to you about Justin Hardy so far?
Well, he can run. You know, I think he's someone that does a number of things well in the kicking game. He's still a work in progress at corner, and I think he knows exactly who he is and how he has to make the team.
Sean, Drew's obviously never been someone who, you know, launches it down the field as far as some other guys. He's obviously gotten by with great accuracy. How much do you stress accuracy with Taysom and Bridgewater as a more important element than distance?
Well, the accuracy is important, but I would say this: I think, you know, yards per completion, big plays, those numbers, I would argue Drew's been near the top at, and so. You know, do you throw it behind everyone on defense? I don't see that a lot from anybody. I mean, occasionally you do, but getting the ball down the field off a play action or in the drop back passing game is something that I think he does really well. Back to just operating efficiently at that position, I think where you locate the ball and your accuracy overall is going to be real important to play at a high level, and we've seen that firsthand from him.
As it pertains to Taysom and Bridgewater, though, is that?
Yeah, I felt this camp. I mean, I felt like I've seen progress with both those two players. I mean, I felt like I've seen, you know, in and out of the huddle. I've seen them at the line of scrimmage a little quicker, and I've seen Teddy had a good practice today, I thought.